Why does Caitlin Clark suddenly make people care about the WNBA? And this is why I say this is a blind spot for me. I grew up watching a lot of women's college basketball. The Lady Vols were really good. My dad is a massive Pat Summitt fan. Back in the day, Lady Vols against UConn, Gino Auriemma. Vanderbilt had a good women's basketball program for a first year, old school. I think Tennessee's women and Vanderbilt's women played in some number 1 versus number 2 matchups. Got to take a drink there. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, I'm dating myself here now. Vanderbilt had a big, tall, like 6'10" chick. Her name, I believe, was Heidi Gillingham. And Vanderbilt was really good at women's basketball. And everybody was watching those games. So I've watched a lot of women's college basketball before. So I didn't buy into the Caitlin Clark hype. Because I was like, women's college basketball has been popular for a long time. But the numbers that Caitlin Clark put up in terms of not only the points she scored, but the number of people who were interested in watching her, really kind of staggering. And I think it would be an interesting article for OutKick to write if we could get the data. Who are the people that are watching the WNBA and Caitlin Clark and buying tickets now that never paid attention before? My guess is white people. Honestly. My guess is if you went into, and obviously they're playing in Indiana, but if you went into WNBA arenas and you said, okay, usually 4,000 people are showing up. Now there's 12,000 people here. Who are those 8,000 new fans? My guess is it's white people. Caitlin Clark has motivated a cadre, again, this is my hypothesis, of white basketball fans that otherwise was disinterested in watching the WNBA. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when you run the numbers on the data, it's actually Hispanic people. The Hispanic people love Caitlin Clark, and they're showing up in the crowds. My bet is that this is the same core that has bought in on, let's say, the U.S. women's soccer team. U.S. women's soccer team, white people love the U.S. women's soccer team. You go watch who travels to go watch the U.S. women's soccer team, it is a super white audience. And I bet the data would reflect that a lot of the same people who are bandwagon U.S. women's soccer fans are now fans of Caitlin Clark. Why? It's really, she's a very good player. But what is it about her that is cutting through the noise? This is why I admit that I got a blind spot. She plays like Steph Curry. I get it. But it's not like Steph Curry playing like Steph Curry made the NBA more popular than it ever had been before. Steph Curry is a pinprick as popular as Michael Jordan was. I think he's the most influential player of his generation. And I think Caitlin Clark plays basketball like a kid that grew up watching Steph Curry would, as many men's basketball players do too. I've argued this for years. I coached Little League basketball, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we call it. All the kids wanted to take deep threes. They all wanted to be Steph Curry. None of the kids wanted to be LeBron James. When I was a kid, we all wanted to be Michael Jordan. If you are my age, there is almost a certainty that you had a Michael Jordan poster in your bedroom. Unless you're from Detroit or New York or Indiana, one of these places that had a real rivalry with Jordan. You grew up in Nashville like I did. I've said this before. I had only a couple of posters on my wall. Two of them for sure. Like I was a Barry Larkin, Eric Davis fan, Cincinnati Reds. I had their posters on my wall. I was a fan of wrestling. I had Brutus the Barber Beefcake on my wall. Yes. I think I had the Macho Man. back in the day. I had Bo Jackson with the baseball bat on his shoulders and the shoulder pads. If you're around my age, I'm 45. I loved Bo Jackson. Was obsessed with Bo Jackson. He was my favorite baseball and football player back in the day. And you had a good shot. What I had, you had a picture of Michael Jordan dunking from the free throw line. Now, he took a step inside of the free throw line, but I think it was the 1989 dunk contest against Dominique Wilkins. Back when people loved the dunk contest, I had that Jordan dunking from the free throw line poster. Reason why I bring that up, those guys were iconic. Jordan took the NBA to a level it had never been before. He was the guy we all wanted to be. Steph is the guy that everybody wants to be today. Generational talent. I'm guessing that as there are a lot of girls out there that want to be the next Alex Morgan. You guys can text me. I can't even keep up. I know Alex Morgan still plays. I don't even know who the most famous U.S. women's soccer players are now. I know Megan Rapinoe tore her ACL. She's done. Shanked a penalty kick to end her career in the U.S. women's soccer. Wide right, ironically enough. The U.S. women, I was there in 2015 when they won and beat Japan. I had my whole family there. Everybody loved them. 2019, they go to France. They get super political, won't visit the White House. By 2023, sadly, a lot of Americans were rooting against them. But that fan base is real. Lots of little girls grew up watching the U.S. women. Lots of people play soccer. That's a white fan base. Are a lot of those people now going to Caitlin Clark, the same overlap rooting for her? I don't know. This is why I would love to see the data. What was it? 18 million people watched LSU against the Iowa women. Who are those fans? And who are those fans now that are buying tickets to go to see the WNBA play? I would like to know the demos on those. But, man, I'm going to probably sit down and write a long-form piece tonight. I just got to think about all the different takes that Caitlin Clark is producing and what they actually represent. Because I think in many ways she is challenging many of the assumptions that are out there associated with all of this. And I love it. I think it's making a lot of people think and challenge their assumptions and recalibrate the way that we talk about athletes. I think she's breaking ESPN in some facet when you got Stephen A. Smith's show going off the rails and you got Pat McAfee's show going off the rails.